Hello Scrappers, this is Lorraine from Card Creations, and I'd like to thank everyone for joining me today on the Fall and Halloween Vlog Hunt put together by Stephanie from alwayscrafting.com. Thank you, Stephanie, for inviting me to participate in the blog hunt. My first project, I'm going to try to fit in two. If it doesn't all fit in this one video, I'll do a second video for the second project. But the first one is this little purse that I cut from the Forever Young Cricut cartridge, which is on page 70. And when you open it up, I have 5 small 3x3 little cards, like thank you cards or any type of fall occasion that you can use these for. I did use the Sizzix Pumpkin 2 die, and this comes with 2 different pumpkin cutouts. You get the taller pumpkin and then the flatter round pumpkin. So we'll go ahead and get started, and I'll show you how I put this together. Now the purse on page 70, I used 12 by 12 mat, and I used the fit to page feature, and that cut it at 5.5 inches. Okay, so I've put the pocketbook together, and I've got all my little cuts here. I did use several different cartridges to get my pumpkins and some of my leaves. Now these pumpkins here, I cut from the Paper Dolls Cricut cartridge, and my small leaves I cut from Speaking of Fall, and I cut the larger one at 1 1/4. Excuse me, the smaller one at 1 1/4, and then the larger one at 1 3/4. I've added foam tape to the back of this larger pumpkin, and we're going to add that right there to this far corner here. I used 2 layers of foam tape on the back, and I'll just add that right about there. And then I've added 1 layer of foam tape to the back of this, and I'll just tuck that behind the larger pumpkin. I did use some stickles along the creases of the pumpkins and let those dry. I did that ahead of time because it does take a while for the stickles to dry. Now the next thing that I've done is I made a Happy Fall tag, and I used 2 punches. One is the 1 1/2 inch punch, scallop punch, and then I use the 1 3/8. You can use whatever sizes you have to nest these 2 pieces together. I did do the Happy Fall on my computer, and if you have a stamp with some type of fall greeting, you can just use that. So I'm going to go ahead and apply that right about there. So get my gun. And add this right up here. Okay, and then the large, let's see, one of the smaller leaves or larger leaves, let me see, which one do I want to use? Probably the smaller one. I'm going to attach right up here. I've got my zip dry paper glue. I'm going to use that for this, just to make sure it doesn't come off. And I love this stuff, but the end of the tip always gets clogged up really quick, so I just keep a needle handy and unclog it. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and add a little bit of adhesive to that. And just attach it right up here. Here we go. And then I want to take this leaf and tuck it right behind the large pumpkin. Just like that. So I kind of get an idea where I need to add adhesive. And flip this over and add my adhesive. See what I mean about this getting clogged? Okay, let's go back again. Alright, tuck that in right back there. There we go. And I also decorated the back and added the other pumpkin to that with a set of leaves. So I'm going to flip this over and put it on the left hand side. I think I can use my ATG gun for that one. And I'm going to just add that about there and stick this to the back. There we go. So our box is just about done except for our bow, and I'll tuck that in and go ahead and add some zip dry. Now I would recommend the zip dry adhesive for bows. I had a review on a bunch of adhesive that I use, and I like to use the zip dry for hard to glue items like this bow that's a little bit thick. It does take a little bit of time to dry, so once I set that there, we're going to set this aside and just give it a few minutes while we're working on our cards. Okay, now like I mentioned, there's these little cards I bought at Michael's. I didn't make them, but I'm sure you can. Just wanted to do something quick. They are a 3x3 and you get 10 in a pack, so I was able to make 2 projects with 5 cards in each. And I left one without the mat, and I'm just going to go ahead and attach that so you can just get a little idea on how I put this together. Just made my mat a little bit smaller, and then on my pumpkin I inked the edge, and this paper I used from a new paper stack that's out, and it's the, let's see, K & Company, hope you can see that. I'm going to turn it sideways here. The K & Company Halloween stack, and that's the first page on the top, so when you go looking for it, you'll be able to see that. Now the matte paper I used this Die Cuts with a View paper stack, and it's called, I'm going to move my camera up just a little bit so you can see it. It's called Amber Autumn stack, and this is new also. And I like this one because it has small patterns in it, and that's what I used for the little card. Okay, I'm going to move my camera back down. Okay, and finish working on my card. I did use one single layer of foam tape on the back of my die cut from the Sizzix. Now there's plenty of Cricut cartridges with pumpkins on it, and if you don't have this die, and you can just substitute. Okay, and there we have our little cards. I inked around the envelope with some green ink, and there we have our 5 cards and 5 envelopes. And we'll go ahead and add this to our little box. And there we have our first project. On our blog hop. Okay. Alright, so the next project that we're going to work on is this Halloween card. And I used a standard 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inch piece of white cardstock, and then I've cut from the Happy Hauntings Cricut cartridge. I've cut out the frame with the little bats and the bird and attached that, and the background they didn't have a mat for the back, so I just cut a piece of oval cardstock and attached it, and then added one layer of foam tape. I've got this little witch that I'm going to add to the center, and I cut all these at 4 1/4. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and add this next. To the inside of my frame. I haven't done a video in so long, I'm so nervous. Okay, so I'm going to add this here to the center. There we go. And I'll bring in the rest of the pieces that we're going to work with. Now this cardstock is the Martha Stewart stack from last year, and I was able to use my web punch on this side, and then I'm going to line the back with the black strip of paper so that you can get a better look at the spider web. So I've cut it just a little bit longer than the width of the spider web, and I'm just going to go ahead and attach that next. Okay, so I'll just line it up here, and then I'll trim the excess that I've got. Let's see, I'm going to turn it this way so I can get it right on the edge. There we go. And then I'll just trim away the extra. Actually, I'll peel that back up. I need to do it this way. I had my adhesive on the edge of the spider web, and you can see it, so I'm just going to flip that. And I'm going to have to move really quickly now because I only have a few more minutes. And I'm going to go ahead and add my adhesive to the back of my mat. And add it to the front of my card that I've inked all around in a green ink. Let's see. Oh, wait. Let's see. Okay. That's what happens when I move too fast. Let me just set that right there. I want to add some ribbon. So I'm adding adhesive to my ribbon. And I'm just going to position this right at the edge of the spider web on the inside. There we go. Tuck that in. And now I can lay it down. Okay. I have a small bow that I'll add in a few minutes to the top of my frame. So I'm going to add that next. Now peeling back the single layer of foam tape, and I'll position this more to the left side of my card since I have the spider web on one side. Just add that there. Okay, now this boo I cut from the paper stack. If you have other sentiments that you'd like to add, you can just stamp it and cut it out, but I'm going to add this right around here. And then get my quick dry